Let's make some poolside signs. Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. Tonight is the Outdoor Living, Outdoor Decor, a Can't Sleep Creations collaboration, hosted by Dawn of Shabby Meets Bling, Jody at Southern Seasons, and me. Hi. I'll be making a couple of signs for my pool shed, and I'll fancy up my pool tail tub. Let's get into it. You know that I love my retro signs, and I love to decorate what little space I have in my backyard with a mid-century retro googie kind of sign. I've designed this sign in the classic drive-through shape. We're going to jump right in. I'll be using my typical summer palette for any of my outdoor decor, which will be Tropic Bay Blue and Pumpkin Orange. I'm filling in this main center portion of the sign with Ceramcoat Tropic Bay Blue, 2 coats. We live in the heart of the city, and while we do have a big backyard for city living, we actually put up a swimming pool that takes up the majority of our yard, which leaves me very little space to actually decorate or to furnish in any way. But you know what? I'm cool with that. Our yard in the summer consists of an 18-foot pool, a rose bush at the very back of the yard, which is beautiful, and enough space for our grill and a small table set, which we never use really, because when we're not in a pool, we're in the house in the air conditioning. This leaves me very little space, as I said, to decorate, so I just cover my pool shed in signs. This gives me something fun to look at when I'm facing the house, and I can always look at the beautiful roses when I'm facing the back of the yard. So you see, even with very little space, I still managed to fit in some artwork. I'll paint the arrow with 2 coats of Ceramcoat Pumpkin. I don't know about you, but I do love this summer. The thing I love most about this summer is my swimming pool and the beach. I don't really go outside to play games or any of that kind of stuff in the summertime. I'm either in the pool or I'm on the beach because I do love sun and sea. And when I'm at the beach, I'm in the water. That's how I roll. Of course, I will go to a baseball game if we're lucky enough to get tickets. That's always good. But other than that, there's got to be water involved. What about you guys? Do you like hanging outside in the summer? Too many mosquitoes for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to add a border around the blue part of this sign with Americana bluegrass green, and as always, I'm going to list all the products and brands that I use in the description box for you. Here I'm using a dowel and I'm adding white dots to outline the arrow to make it look like marquee light bulbs. But to be honest with you, I wind up having to redo these after I float in my shading. So of course I pull out my folk art floating medium to do that shading. I'll prep my brush first with the medium, which is this clear gel here. I'm going to work it into my brush. Now I'm going to scoop up some of the turquoise paint on the corner of my brush. Side loading. I stroke the brush on my plate to load the bristles with both the paint and to blend it with the medium. This will give me a gradation of color. Color will be darkest at the corner of the brush and fade as it moves toward the middle of the brush. With the paint corner of my brush, where I want the darkest shadow, I'll begin to stroke around the blue part of the sign. I'll reload my brush whenever I feel it's necessary. You can always tell when your brush is getting dry, and you just reload it either with the paint or the medium or both. You get the feel of it the more you do it. Honestly, it just really takes a little bit of practice. The turquoise is just a shade or two lighter than the Tropic Bay, so it will be somewhat subtle. I'm going to go around my arrow also with the turquoise to shade it. I followed the exact same method as I did to shade the blue part of the sign. Now, one of those white dots was still wet, so my paintbrush picked up some of the white, but that's okay. We'll make it work. I usually like to add a couple different colors when I'm shading, so I'm coming in now to shade around the blue part of the sign with some pumpkin. I load my brush in the exact same way, first into the floating medium, then side loading with the paint, working it into the bristles, and shading my piece. I like the way it looks when I have more than one color to shade. It's something that you might not prefer. Maybe you like the one color, and that's cool. But for me, I think it takes it up a notch, and it's just something I almost always do. It's kind of my signature mark. You feel me? So I'm just going to continue around the blue part with the orange, and then we'll head over to the arrow. My second color of shading for the arrow will be Cadmium Orange. This is an Americana color. I'm just following right along the edge where I placed my turquoise float. This will not cover the turquoise. It's more to enhance it and to blend in with it a wee bit too. I want to add a wee bit of an outline, so I've loaded a script brush with some white paint, and to keep my line as straight as possible, I'm going to move my entire arm from the elbow back. I don't really use my wrist as much, it's more of a full arm movement. This helps me to keep my line relatively straight. Now, it's not perfect, but what is? Right? I reload my brush when necessary, and if I have to, I will go back over a line that's skippy or that needs more paint. Not perfect, but as I said, I'm okay with that. Let's outline the arrow now. This requires a shorter stroke, so this is more of a wrist action than a full arm action. Kinda. Well, you'll see. I come back in and go over those dots that kind of got lost with the shading. I used my silhouette to cut out some text that says Poolside Lounge, and I'm going to burnish it onto my sign. You all know that I have trouble getting my vinyl to stick. This actually went on quite easy. This is Oracle vinyl, so it is top quality. Also, I will include the fonts in the description box for you off the top of my head. I can't remember what font this is, but you'll find it listed below. That went on nice and smooth. To really make that text pop, I'm going to add a Cadmium Orange drop shadow to the left of the letters using a 00 detail brush for this. And all I'm really doing is just following the line of the letter to the left side. That's pretty much it. I do try to keep the line as close to the letter as possible. Sometimes it gets away from me, but that's okay too, right? It's hand painted. I'm going to add a drop shadow around the dots too, again with the Cadmium Orange to the left. Now I'll add a white highlight to the right of the letters. Again, I'm using the same 00 detail brush, and pretty much it's the exact same thing as the drop shadow, except we're going on the opposite side with white. If you're not really sure how to add drop shadows or highlights, you can always look online for signs that have good examples of this. It'll give you an idea of where everything should be placed. But honestly, I just do it by eye. Whatever looks good to me, that's what I go with. I'll add some Quasar stars to my sign. I keep these on hand. I cut these out in a variety of sizes and large quantities because I use them so frequently. Yeah, so pretty much anytime I have my silhouette out, I'll run off some vinyl quasars. I'll come in and add a drop shadow to the quasars with turquoise. Again, this will be to the left side. It just really helps them pop off the sign. Once that's finished, I'll seal this with either Minwax Helmsman Outdoor Spray or Guardsman Weather Defense. This will keep it protected from the elements. And you can see I'm adding that turquoise drop shadow to the white dots too. And that's it for this sign. What do you think? Poolside lounge, this way. DIY 2, off to the swimmo. For my next sign, I'll be using this 10-inch round, and I've cut myself 3 mid-century modern type fish in 3 different sizes. I'll place them on the sign something like this because I want to leave this space on the left open for lettering. I give the round 2 coats of Ceramcoat Tropic Bay blue. Now while that dries, we'll work on the fish. Each fish will be a different shade of orange. I'm starting with the wee fish and Ceramcoat Calypso Orange. It's a yellowy orange color, very bright and happy. So I'm just going to paint the inner portion of the fish, and it's going to need about 3 coats because the orange colors and the yellows, they're always very sheer. The middle fish will get 3 coats of Warm Sunset, which is an Americana color, a deep orange color. It's really pretty. And the big fish will get 3 coats of Ceramcoat Pumpkin. I'll paint the remainder, the outline part of the 2 smaller fish with Ceramcoat Hippo, and the larger fish will be painted with Ceramcoat Charcoal. Now I'm going to float the wee fish with Ceramcoat Pumpkin. It's a shade or 2 darker in its orange tone than the Calypso Orange, so that's kind of what I'm going for. And I load my brush the same way as I have previously. The middle fish will be shaded with Ceramcoat Amber Glow, which is like an orangey red. The large fish will be shaded with Warm Sunset. My second color choice for shading will be the turquoise, and I'll shade all 3 fish with this color. It's kind of almost like a highlight here. I was a little heavy-handed here, so I come back with a brush that's just mostly medium, and I thin out that shading. It's one of the advantages of using the floating medium. You can go back over your paint and kind of use it as an eraser. I shade the gray portions of the two smaller fish with charcoal. And I'll use black to shade around the charcoal portion of the large fish. To add their eyes, I'll use dowels of different sizes to make dots. I'm using Hippo Gray on the small and medium fish to dot the eyes and to paint in the fins. And I'm just going to use one of my detail brushes to paint in the fins. I use charcoal for the large fish's eye and for his fin. Now while the fish dry, let's add some seaweed to our round. I'll double load a flat brush with bluegrass green and turquoise. To do this, I load my brush first with the darker color, which is the bluegrass, and then I'll side load with the turquoise, brushing it onto my plate to blend the two colors, very similar to how I load my brush to float. I hold my brush vertically with the lighter color at the top, and I'll just drag my brush up, wiggling it slightly to create the seaweed. This gives the seaweed a blended color of the two shades of blue. I'll repeat this process, this time with later colors, fully loading my brush first with the turquoise, and then I'll side load with Minty Turquoise. I load the brush the exact same way as I did previously, and I'll apply the seaweed in the exact same way, leading with the lighter color, holding my brush vertically. Painting the seaweed, yeah, that's a lot of fun. I'll shade along the perimeter of the round using turquoise again, loading my brush just like I did before with the floating medium, side loading with turquoise. The paint corner of my brush is right to the edge of the round. That's where I want my darkest shadow. I'll paint the edge of the round with Hippo Gray, and then I'm going to come in and float around that edge with Hippo Gray. I'm keeping the Hippo Gray float very light and feathery. This will pull in that color from the fish so that it's cohesive. I add my vinyl lettering to the left side of my round. This says, "Off to the swimmo." When I was a kid, that's what we called the public swimming pool, the swimmo. We always had a swimming pool in our backyard, but we used to swim for the swim team at the local playground with our friends. So after swim team practice, we'd head back to our swimming pool with all of our friends. Also back then, they had Boys' Day and Girls' Day, so we never really had to worry about it because on Boys' Days, we just stayed in our own pool. Right, so this time I'm going to add the drop shadow using Hippo Gray. Again, I want to pull in that gray from the fish, and the drop shadow will be on the left of my lettering. Just like before, we'll use white to highlight on the right side of the lettering. Let's add some white highlights to the fish too. To add that mid-century flavor, I'm going to add some quasar stars to the fish. And I'll add a drop shadow to the left of the star with turquoise. I attached the fish to the wood round with both wood glue and a drop of hot glue. For a final touch, we'll add some dip dot white bubbles. And then all we have to do is add the clear matte sealer. My third DIY, well, this is really more of just a simple embellishment. I'm going to add some vinyl to this tub, which is the container I use to hold my pool towels. I designed my vinyl in Silhouette Studios, and I'm just going to apply it to the front of the tub. I'm not sure I can really call this a DIY. I mean, I guess it is. And of course, I did add some large quasar stars to the design as well. Here's a final look at today's project. I love creating new signs for my pool area. Let me know what you think. Please be sure to check out the playlist. There's lots of great outdoor ideas for you, games, and decor. Also, be sure to check out both Dawn and Jody's channels. I'll have links to those in the description box as well, along with a list of my supplies. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.